have these three things of numbers written down. Go ahead and work on it while I'm kind of starting off. Goals, you can totally write it down. I highly encourage it because it's going to tie into us manifesting into things that we want. All right, so this is a disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, in anywhere or whatever, in any form. I am not going to recommend or endorse any products or business or investment types. I just want to give you guys a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of different things that I have come from my own personal experience. And whatever resonates with you guys, I want you guys to take that and y'all can jump down the rabbit holes of all that stuff. Okay. I just really want to give you all the information that I can. With that, I just want to tell you that there is no one fit solution for everything, for anyone. Like what I would advise for you would not be the same person next to you or your brother or your mother or anything like that, because everyone's circumstances, goals, situations, um, you know, how many kids you got, you don't have kids, all that stuff really affects how you can spend your money or whatnot, if that makes sense. Okay, so that is my disclaimer. So I kind of just want to give you a backstory. My husband and I, 10 years ago, we were engaged. We were getting ready to buy a house. We were in a rat race life, and we just hated it. We felt like every time we made money, it was literally leaving our pockets before or just as it gets there. Um, you guys can't see my screen? Okay, maybe Jessica, if you can help them. Um, and so we really just started embarking on our financial journey because it was something that we weren't taught. No one in our family really knew. They just knew how to work and just pay your bills and save money. But we didn't really want that. We wanted to really break it. We couldn't afford a financial advisor. We couldn't, whatever. We didn't have a mentor. Now we do, but before we had nothing. So if you guys ever feel like you're there, just realize that I started there too. Um, and I just want you guys to know it's totally doable. Okay, so the power of financial literacy. So for me, financial literacy is so important, because if you understand what money is and how it works, um, you're going to be able to take better control of your money. Therefore, you'll take control of your well being. Um, changing your wealth and your future generational wealth path was something very important for my husband and I. If that is something you want to do, this is so important for you to learn the basics. Okay. Again, there's no one fit solution. So what your path to journey is going to look like is going to be different from someone else's. Okay, so what is money? Money is essentially made up, right? Money is a system that we use to exchange products or service. Okay, money is neutral. I just want you guys to start understanding that or get familiarized with that. So there's different types of money. Fiat money, which is paper money, right? What we use paper, the our bills and coins. And the commodity monies is typically something like um metals, jewelry, cigarettes, right? Luxury purses. Some people trade their cars for that kind of stuff. All of that is commodity money. And so when people say like, oh, I have a car that's valued at whatever amount of money, those are money that you could essentially trade out. The additional money is money that is in a trust or a promise payment. So maybe like you're taking out a loan. Um, that is, I call imaginary money. We don't necessarily see it, but it exists somewhere out there in the universe. So we're gonna go over a lot of vocabularies because I just want you guys to, if you've never heard it, to hear it. If you know it, to hear it again. Um, and if you need clarification, hopefully this will give clarification. So a lot of time people will throw out assets out. Oh, my business is an asset, and it is, right? Houses can be assets, real estate, cars, inventory, your cash, any investment is considered an asset. A debit, your debt is going to be credit, or sorry, credit cards, mortgages, student loans, auto loans. And then credit is the amount of money that you have available to borrow. So a lot of people will mix up credit and debit and debt. Debt is the money you owe. Credit is just the amount of money you have that you could utilize from a loaner. Once you use it, then that becomes debt. Any questions so far? And if you have any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat. Okay. So if you're in debt, a lot of people will say um debt consolidation. And debt consolidation is basically a program, or it's a company that will take all your debt, pay your debt, but then you owe them. And then in exchange, you're going to pay them a fee as for that as well. This is good for people who are hiring, like who have multiple large sum amounts of debt. Um, and I think it's great in that sense that you can just pay one person and you're not having to track down, every single payment of every month. And if this is easier for you, that's great. The only negative part about this is that I would say is it hurts your credit, right? It starts to really affect you if you're trying to buy a house, or it could affect you when you're trying to get a car loan and things like that. um so in my personal opinion, I personally don't recommend it unless your circumstance really calls for it. And again, I would tell you to go to a financial advisor, a CPA, or a tax person, just to make sure that this is your best option. um I actually have friends in this business, and they do wonders. They also help, credit scores along with this as well. So if you're in a lot of debt and you're like, damn it, I have so much debt, I don't know how to get it, it's overwhelming, I don't even want to look at it, we'll just keep going, and we'll just let it ride out. I really recommend the snowball method, and I'm a big fan of it because this is how my husband and I got ourselves out of debt. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to pay the smallest debt in full, pay that off, and then you're going to start paying the minimum payment. You pay minimum payments on all of them, right? However, you're going to start putting more amount towards the next one, and so forth. And I think for us, we did this. We were about $30,000 in debt, and we were able to pay that off in less than a year. But my husband and I worked really hard. We got a lot of debt. We got a second jobs. We used our second job paychecks to pay off our debts. Yes, Army, it really works well. Careful who you cross. I will talk about that later towards the end. I can answer that for you later. But this is a really great way. So I want to give an example. Let's say you have a credit card for $500, and another one for 1,000, and another one for 2,000. What you're going to do is you're going to focus, you're going to pay minimum payments on all your cards, but you're going to focus on the little one. So you're going to pay off that 500. And then whatever extra money you have every single month, you're going to start paying off that 1,000. And then once that 1,000 is paid off, then you're going to focus and pay the $2,000 credit card. I hope that makes sense for everybody. Anybody have any questions on this part? Yeah, you're going to add more money to what you're paying, but you're going to focus paying off the smallest debt first. And then you're going to pay the next lowest debt, and then the bigger one, and then the next one, however many debts you have. So, what is a credit score? There's a lot of times where I come across people are like, hey, I have a credit score, I have no credit history, I have whatever. I don't really care about it. For me, and anything that we have ever adventured off in business wise, credit score at some point mattered. So credit score is basically a number between 300 850 that lenders use to predict or see how likely or at risk you would be for them to loan you money. The lower your credit score is, the more terrible credit history you have, they are going to give you a higher interest rate. And why is that important? Well, that is important because they can disqualify you, or you're going to get such a high rate you wouldn't be able to afford it. So let's use this as an example. If somebody had a 300 credit score, we may say, the bank may say, well, this person's at 300 credit score, I'm going to give them a 20% interest rate. So if you borrowed $100 every month, you're going to be paying them back, or every year you're going to be paying them back an extra 20. um Whereas someone maybe that has 700, we'll be like, okay, we can give it them at 2%. You're only paying 102. So if you took this number, stretched it out to 100,000 or even $1 million, you really start seeing the numbers truly take big effect. So credit score is going to be so important if you are ever going to try to get a mortgage, car loan, a business loan, any qualifications on renting. Some people will require a credit score. Um, and it could affect how much money you put down, how much your rent would be, etc. So, what determines your credit score? The credit score is going to be based off of your history, how much credit you use, the length of your credit history, the amount of credits you have, types of credits you have under your account, how much debt you're in, any foreclosure and bankruptcies reported. So, payment history, are you paying them on time? How much of it are you paying? That affects your score. Credit utilization. Ideally, you should be using about 30%. So to give example, if you were given $100 in credit, that means they want you to only use about $20 of that. And that's how much debt you should have to be quote unquote good. Length of credit history. So if you have ever heard anyone tell you, don't close your credit cards, this is the reason why, especially your oldest ones. Because if you open one when you're 18, that establishes your credit at that age. And then when you're 40 and you, let's say, cancel that one at 18, you're going to lose that credit history from 18 to the age of 40, right? It's going to be based off of the next longest credit card you have open. Amount of credit is how much money you have revolving in the credit world. So if you are opening 20 credit cards, right, there is going to be a red flag because they're going to say, what are you going to do with all these credits? And then debt balance, and then forecloses or bankruptcy. We'll talk about bankruptcy in just a bit. So right now, the average American credit score is 705. So I pulled this from the Experian website. That was the most updated one I have right now. So currently, this is kind of the chart that they have for the good scores on there. And remember, there's different credit bureaus, so depending on where you're looking, you may have different numbers. But typically, we would take the average three of the top three bureaus and then get that score. Most, if you're looking to buy a house, they're going to want you at least 700. So, and the reason why I told you the average American credit score is to kind of give you a scale to see where you're at. So if you know your credit score, you can compare it to how much what the average American credit score looks like. Okay. Also, the average American credit card debt right now is $8,674. So that's just a number for you to compare it to see how you're doing. If you have bad credit right now, these are things that you can do to help maintain or improve your credit score. And just know that with time, this can improve. Just keep doing these things will also help you improve your credit cards. All right. So I just kind of wanted to stress to you guys how important it is for you guys to do annual checks on your credit scores and report. It's important to kind of know what your credit score at least once a year, because if you do it the next following year and it drastically changes, you need to know why. You need to figure out why. At a minimum, you should check your credit score at least once. Better if you check it every quarter, every 4 or 5 months, twice a year, even, right? But it's best to check it frequently, and then also setting up protection because of everything being online. Credit card thieves online are just literally demolishing people's credit. How do you check it? There's a website that you can check it with either through the three bureaus, or most credit cards now will offer you a free credit score report, and you can check that. And they'll typically give you a credit score of one of the top three bureaus. Um, and I want you to check your credit report annually, because you want to make sure that people aren't opening things under your name. You don't want them to mess up. If, let's say, you paid something on time, the credit card company can report you for not paying it on time, and that dings your report. You can fight those things, right? It just takes time. So this is really important why you should be checking your credit score at least once a year, to making sure that A, no one's not using it, and B, that they're not putting false information on your report. I personally have known someone who had their social taken by their mom and opened credit cards and blew up, maxed out all those credit cards. I've also had one of my aunts actually had someone from the Midwest use her credit and her name and everything like that for like 5 years. So they took out loans and things like that, and they ended up putting her in debt for $500,000. But because she didn't check the credit score or her credit report, she didn't know any of these things, and it took her years to get it out and corrected. So, just identity theft is a real thing. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware, or at least put it on your calendar once a year. Just check your credit score and your report. Okay, so how to check your report? You can go to the main three agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Those are the top three bureaus. You can also go to the U.S. government website to get your annual credit report. Most credit cards will give you a credit report of some form. Now, you may have to pay for it, but I want to say most of them offer you a free report. And then Equifax and Experian, I know because I personally have their protection, and I pay that every month because I've had accounts, credit card accounts, and loans tried being pulled under my name as well. So I'm a big advocate for it. So make sure you guys are doing that. So bankruptcy. A lot of times people will use this term, and I think bankruptcy is you hear it, right? Companies, they file for bankruptcy, blah blah blah. This is basically when they cannot pay their debt anymore, and they're gonna get a fresh start. So they're just basically gonna sell everything they can, pay off that person with that much, and then or sometimes not pay at all. kind of just depends on the court and what is being what the court orders for them to do. So I've met people who filed bankruptcy and not how to pay a dime back. But this is something that stays on your records for 10 years and it has a negative impact on your credit score. This increases your interest rate for loans, or it can even disqualify you for loans. You'll probably need a cosigner or two. You can, with bankruptcy, you can lose all your possessions, property, and other assets. Like I said, not all debts would be, you don't always get to walk away with it. There's sometimes you do have to pay. So with this, I would never advocate for someone to file bankruptcy, but I understand that not everyone's situation is easy to just kind of get out of. So this does exist, but my thing to you is never get to the point where you would have to even file for bankruptcy. Any questions so far on that? All right, so I heard this quote: money is a neutral energy and it's only going to mirror you. And I thought that was really fascinating because it just resonated so much. And it only resonates me so much now because back then, when I didn't really know anything about money, or I didn't really do anything yet with money, I didn't understand that. So I want you guys to write out financial goals. And then you're going to write smaller sub goals to help reach your big goals. Then I want you to find out where you're missing or what are the gaps that's causing you to not reach your goals. So I want you to list out your big goals, whether let's say you want to make I saved $10,000. Then your sub goal is going to break it down even smaller and say that means I need to save $800 every month or whatever it is, right? Or you can even break it down even smaller. I need to save X amount of money every week. And I found that when on our financial journey, like we can always have dream boards or anything like that. But the moment we started writing down our financial goals and really breaking it down to smaller goals, achievable goals, we were actually hitting them much faster than we ever did when we were just, quote unquote, daydreaming about our goals. So, so I want to give you an example. Let's say we want to get out of $50,000 in debt. So I would recommend that I would do a snowball effect to pay off our debts. That would be my sub goal, right? Our sub goal is to start the snowball effect, paying off the debt. And then we were going to save up $25,000 for our wedding in 1 year. So that meant that we needed to save $2,100 each month once we paid off our debt. So you see how my sub goal aligns with my bigger goal. So then what were we missing to achieve our goal? And then we realized that we needed more income, right? Because we were maxed out at income with our regular 9-to-5 jobs. So then our solution was to go and get part-time jobs, which we did. Thank you, Jessica. Does anybody have any questions about that? Writing out your goals and the sub goals. Be very specific on what you're asking for. If you're saying your goal is to make more money, like, no, that's not detailed enough. You need to write out how much money. So if your business needs to make $1,000 every month, then you need to write it down. Make $1,000 each month. And then break that down even more. How many dollars is that per day that you're working, right? When you're doing it like that, you're going to start seeing it manifest itself much faster. So these are 3 books that I think gave me a lot of perspective about money. So I just kind of want to give it as a tool if any of these books call out to you or resonate to you. Each book So, okay, how do I say this? Each book has its own thing. I don't fully agree with every single author, but there are good information in in all three books. Okay, so I think that's all I have. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. If there's any topic you want to talk about with basic information, we can totally do that. Next week, we are going to talk about budgeting and savings. We'll go into kind of details and more details on how to do all that and how much money you need to save and etc. And then I know, careful who you cross. You had asked me, um, how long did it take you to make and start getting your business more successful? Um, I don't consider myself, my husband and I don't consider ourselves successful quite yet. Um, we are better than where we were many years ago. But I would say that probably the next 5 years is probably when we're going to take off in different aspects. Jessica, do you think those $100 or 100 envelopes challenges work to save money? Um, yes and no. Um, yes, because I've done it, not the 100 one, but something similar. But I think it's great for you if you lack the discipline. So another way for you to do that is also doing automatic transfers. So we do that every week, automatic transfers. X amount of money comes out of our bank account, goes straight to our savings account. Um, I would also say is being disciplined enough to allocate all your spare money for the month into um, the savings. And discipline is the hardest part about money, right? Because a lot of the money is no longer cash anymore. It's very hard for us to get a hold or grasp the idea of money because it's so transactional. For people that are like that, I would definitely say like every paycheck just automatically it should just automatically draft every paycheck. You got a bonus, don't even spend it. You're gonna just automatically transfer it over to your savings if that is what your goal is. Um, yeah, I've been there. It takes time. Discipline is definitely not for the weak. I'll say that. Going back to the Dave Ramsey, the three books. I do want to say that Dave Ramsey's book is a really great book for basic knowledge of money and just living. Um, so Dave Ramsey, I don't fully, and I'm sure if you've ever looked into money, you've heard about him. However, there's a lot of things I don't agree with him because I feel like he's so cutthroat and life is just not always that cutthroat. He's very not into debt and things like that. And later when we do investing, you will understand that there are good and bad debts to have. So I think for basic knowledge, Dave Ramsey is a great start. But take what resonates for with you, right? You don't have to take everything. Kiyosaki, he also is the same thing, right? There's things that he talks about, but for me was was the rich dad poor dad mentality, and I didn't really understand the poor mindset until I read his book, and it really just blew my mind because how education makes us really have small thinking, and the rich dad really gave him a different perspective. So I really liked that out of the book. And the richest man in Babylon, well, it's just learning how your money can grow. Any tips on a second job, side hustles, or stay-at-home parents? Listen, you can get a job on anything. You can get a side hustle for anything. It's just if you're disciplined enough to do it. Stay-at-home parents, that's a little bit harder, right? Because you have kids that are, they'll be have to work around, so that might be a little bit more limiting. But anybody who, if you're really trying to, let's say, get out of debt or save money for a down payment or start your business or whatever it is, just know if you got a second job or side hustle, it's not going to be forever, right? Don't get that in your mind because a lot of people will be like, well, I'm gonna have to work forever, and that's not necessarily true. Um, and then side hustles, to be honest, there's a lot of things remote now. Sorry. But Lyft, Uber, or even like DoorDash and all those things are like good side hustles. But the trade-off on that is um you're ruining your car for it. So do you have the money saved up to get new tires and things like that, right? So my husband did Lyft and Uber for a while. That was his third part-time job. Um, and yeah, it's late nights. That's when he made the most money. But it does take a toll, like, on your tires and things like that. So just be prepared for it. Um, Trying to think of another side hustle. Um, Another side hustle I find people doing is couponing. I know Ermi, you're a big couponer, but a lot of people would go coupon, but that takes a lot of time, and they'll just go and sell it for a cheaper price, but double their money that they spent on. Or if they haven't spent on any money on it, then they've made money off of that. I know there's a gal in my area who will go and pick up free things and resell it at like yard sale type of thing. Um, let's see. Yes, count weight. Can't miss. Um, Tanya, I don't know what isn't there. Clarify that for me. How can we tell if we see side hustles online if they are legit or not? So I would look up the company. I would look at how long that company's been in service for. Typically, you can Google any kind of company and you should be able to do. Um, you should be able to find some kind of information about them. Yes, Kel's, yeah. After hours is a good way to do it. There's like, I mean, I hate to say it like, but like for people who like the gym, you can talk about people like 24-hour fitness, they're open 24 hours, so they're always needing like people. You know, Things that are open, like convenience stores that are open 24 hours, they're always looking for night people. Um, yeah, that's all I can think of right now. What do you recommend to people who are a new business? What do you mean to for like is that a general question or are we talking about like financially? Um, uh, yeah, well, so this is where you need to make sure you learn to budget properly, Tanya, because when you're budgeting properly, you'll just know that the money is there. You don't have to worry about it. Because if you're budgeting your finances correctly, you won't have to be like, oh shit, there's not gonna be any money, right? And budgeting is something we're gonna talk about next week. Um, both in general finance. Okay. So if you are a new business, I would make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. And making sure that you're in compliance with your state and the county and obviously on federal level. The other part is don't over leverage. So I'm talking about, so some people will go and splurge on inventory and then they'll have, let's say, it's $5,000 worth of inventory, right? Um, it's almost as if you over leverage yourself because then you're taking that you now have you're in debt of that 5,000, but you're not selling anything yet, right? Um, so just not over leveraging yourself in that sense. Not taking out more loans than you can pay off. Because there's a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm in business loan, business, the bank will be like, great, you're a business, let me give you all this money. And then you go through it, and then now you're like, oh shit, I can pay that, right? So I've seen that. So just, live within your means as goes with your business as well. All right. Do we have any questions for next week or for this week? Anything else? If not, then if you're going to be here next week, I do want you guys to come with your three numbers next week for sure. Let me just pull up. Jessica wrote it earlier. So three, the three things: your average monthly income, your average monthly spending, and your total outstanding debt. And then if you write your goals, if you need help with it, like just um just message me, DM me, and I could totally help you with that, and we can help figure it out, or we can jump on a call. Um, but start working on your goals list. If you have big financial goals for, maybe the end of this year or even on 2025, come with it. Start writing it out. Um, Other than that, if you have any questions, you can totally DM me. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next week. You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here.